All right. Hello, everyone, and now welcome to a 2v2 matchup. It is Undead versus Undead Human. I'm here on Knollwood. Deathnote spawning as the human player under the name Odin's Guard. Fish spawning as the purple undead under the name Frogs. Meanwhile, we have BlOoDy spawning under the name of BlOoDy. Thank you very much for not making that confusing. And finally, Magua, MixTape spawning under the name Magua, so probably just refer to them as colors from here on out, since a lot of them do not have their proper name. Anyways, let's go ahead and break things down in this matchup. Gonna go ahead and speed things up here. We're looking at a crypt, altar of darkness. There's that haunted gold mine. Meanwhile, on the top left, we are looking at a paladin first. So paladin dreadlord, interestingly enough, going up against Death Knight. Dual Death Knight with one of the undead players obviously going Crypt Fiends first. Let's go ahead and slow things down now as the creeping is getting underway. Alright, Footman going straight after that Gnoll Assassin. He gets a boulder tossed. Forest Troll Shadow Priest quickly hired up here as the human player trying to clear out this mercenary camp, get to level 2, pick up that Forest Troll Shadow Priest, which is oh so helpful. Perhaps build up a scout farm as well. Meanwhile, down south here, the undead looking to perhaps put pressure, knowing that that is a very common mercenary camp for human players to try and creep and clear. Undead rushing off to the north here to try and get some last kills. Are we going to see that one peasant getting taken down? That is going to be denied by the stone golem, interestingly enough, as now skeletal minions are now out. Interesting. Abolish magic could go ahead and go down. We're going to see a holy light right there, keeping that Forest Troll Shadow Priest alive. And this is something that you don't actually get to see all that often. The Forest Troll Shadow Priest getting early burst heals by a paladin. So interesting opening play there. The Death Knight wanting to kill that Forest Troll Shadow Priest, unable to do so. The Forest Troll Shadow Priest able to abolish magic, a skeletal minion, and also put in a bit, also getting a little bit of healing himself. Dreadlord comes across here, going to go ahead and try and get a sleep here. It looks as though, however, Fish is in a little bit of trouble, maybe forced to try and retreat back here. Death Knight now opting to come over here and put in a little bit of problems and troubles as well, as we're going to see a low hit point Ghoul not getting saved by his partner Death Knight in the middle of that Death Coil casting, however just a little bit late. Death Knight now back across here. We're going to look at perhaps some pressure. Militia already coming back across. Paladin has Divine Shield instead of Devotion, or a Death Coil steal by the Death Knight does end up getting a bit of experience, and now also has a Claws of Attack +4. Alright, additional skeletal minions are making their way out. That is a lot of poison being spread across multiple units as the Forest Troll Shadow Priest finally gets taken down. Divine Shield on the Paladin. Footman trying to put pressure on that Death Knight. Death Knight now down to 374 hit points. Dreadlord may come around and try to get a sleep on this Death Knight there. There's the sleep. This is going to have a perfect opportunity to surround and kill that Death Knight. There's a holy light right there, and this Death Knight, forced to use a Scroll of Town Portal in order to get away. Swarming Ghouls, so Claws of Attack +4 also placed down as well. Interesting call, as there's that was a sacrifice or a ritual dagger, I believe, being used instead of I don't think there's an arcane vault yet. So ritual dagger being used to heal up some friendly units, as well as we see a necropolis being built off to the north here. Alright, interesting position. Perhaps it is being built here so that, it can be Scroll of Town Portal 2, Acolytes could be trained and moved on over, and then perhaps an Expo being placed down by Fish off to the north. Meanwhile, in the center portion of the map, dual Fountains of Health are going to make for some easy kills onto this Red Drake if they actually try and do that. With those Crypt Fiends there, they can easily finish off the Red Drake while the Death Knights just constantly Death Coil back each other. Alright. And doesn't look good though. We're looking at Deathnote now absorbing a little bit of damage on this town hall. Once it gets completed though, that is going to be very good news indeed, as a low hit point Ghoul ends up walking straight into a trap. Repairs are massively underway. We're looking at the Paladin sitting at level 3 with dual Claws of Attack +4 and Boots of Speed trying to charge on in. Dreadlord coming in from the other side, and is this going to be enough? Alright, there's a sleep going down onto a Crypt Fiend. Units are trying to retreat back. Skeletal minions are engaging. And this is a massive battle all across the board as the Footman unable to get to that low hit point Crypt Fiend there. All right, surround onto the Dreadlord. Dreadlord does have a potion of greater healing. He uses it, but that is not going to get him out of this jam. Well, actually it might, as we're looking at the, well, Holy Light trying to finish off some more units there. All right, both sides fighting their way through. Paladin was nearby enough to get in a little bit of extra additional help, or offer a little bit of additional help, as the Vampiric Aura also giving in a little bit of heals as well. All right, Odin can easily finish off the remainder of this undead party that is here. Additional arcane vaults being placed down. It looks as off to the north we are getting up this expo. Necropolis is done and should be able to train up some of those acolytes as those units are making their way back. We are still sitting at tier 1 coming in from the human undead team, and meanwhile upgrade to tier 2 already done, with tier 3 getting underway here, and well, already at tier 2 for this undead. Slaughterhouse getting added in, Lich getting added in as well. So undead gonna be coming to the party with dual Lich, dual Death Knights. Those Death Knights, if you thought it was difficult to deal with a Death Knight and a Lich, try dealing with 2 Death Knights and 2 Liches with Obsidian statues. That might be difficult to overcome. Undead looking and taking this opportunity to clear out some of their own expansions. Perhaps if they're able to set up some expansions of their own, they're going to be able to get back on equal economic footing. Right now, all the human undead team can do is hope to, well, tech now, and hope that economic advantage really does hold strong and true, as we're looking at ghouls actually gathering lumber down over here. Interesting building placement, as we are looking at a couple of, well, gnolls sitting there. They could easily get aggroed towards somewhere. Slippers of Agility being left behind. Lich easily going to pick that up. Death Knight hanging by this Crypt Fiend, and this Fountain of Mana introduces an interesting aspect. Obsidian statues are often known for running out of mana and then being forced to be converted into destroyers. Not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's deliberate, but sometimes it's a desperate attempt to try and find and get usefulness out of those units. However, that isn't going to be the case here. We're going to see this Fountain of Mana being used to try and restock and refill up those Obsidian statues, perhaps. Death Knight getting a little bit of sleep right there, currently just asleep at the job. Meanwhile, Undead coming in from the other side as well. Where's the human army? There's a couple of guard towers here, but they aren't engaged on the fight just quite yet, as we're looking at another sleep off to the north. All right, Obsidian statues are joining in as well. Dual guard towers, one guard tower already down. Guard towers, however, are giving a little bit of a poking. Meanwhile, it looks as though the Paladin is just trying to disrupt a mining over here inside the undead base that is already at Black Citadel. There are a couple of footmen engaging down across here, as well as Ogre Maulers are trying to fight in as the Death Knight, and the Death Knight trying to hold back this army. Vampiric Aura giving a little bit of additional life for all of these footmen, but the Obsidian statues of the Red Army are going to make this, well, make this undead army just that much more difficult to try and finish off. Meanwhile, well, more Obsidian statues are showing up to the party again. We're going to see some more death here as the Death Knight, the dual Death Knight, dual Lich combo may be able to continue to level up. Units are retreating back. Down across here, we're looking at, well, this undead with pretty much no mining going on whatsoever, and one base mining here. So it is currently 4 bases of mining compared to 1 right now, but the undead army is in a position to really gain in a lot of experience. Staff of Teleportation inbound, Arcane Vault trying to be rebuilt, and in comes that Paladin. Paladin is, however, low on hit points. In comes a Holy Light to try and save. Dual guard towers, and that is it, as the Crypt Fiends are pushing back across. 31 supply for a human army, and that is all we have so far, as the units are trying to retreat back. All right, Vampiric, or the Dreadlord, trying to go after that low hit point Obsidian statue, is going to be able to get the final shot or hit on, or the final 2 shots to finish it off there. 1 or 2 more shots should do it. Obsidian statue may end up just falling to creeps. Yes, it does end up getting taken down right there. Meanwhile, Lich is coming back across, trying to finish off some more of these peasants, and, well, Deathnote Expo may get taken down before it can really start paying for itself. We are already upgrading the castle, so well, Deathnote has been trying to bank more and more gold. Meanwhile, Paladin trying to heal up as well and try to hide with this Divine Shield. Expo off to the north, very well protected with triple Spirit Towers, as we are looking at resaturation by BlOoDy down here at the 6 o'clock spot. Expo pretty much all cleaned up there. Paladin being forced to retreat back. It's going to go ahead and teleport back home. There it goes, bringing back only 2 other units with it. Dreadlord may accidentally just be feeding experience to BlOoDy right now, and MixTape, as they're able to get to dual level 3 heroes on their Death Knights, may be able to even get to level 4 here in just a moment, as another Crypt Fiend ends up falling as well. Alright, Death Knight Crypt Fiends, a multiple obsidian statues. Are they going to head off over to that Fountain of Mana? That is the question. Now, the Fountain of Mana is going to be useful. It's whether or not the Undead team actually parks their obsidian statues in that spot to get a little bit more usefulness out of them. 48 supply, 22 supply for BlOoDy, so he is in a bloody state. Meanwhile, we're looking at Fish sitting at 31 supply, and finally, well, Deathnote sitting at 24 supply. He is sitting on a good bank of gold, so he should be able to train up some units here when the time comes, as we're looking at multiple Spirit Towers now being constructed, and, well, Ziggurats being constructed, and now Spirit Towers firing back. Alright, Dreadlord is off across over here. Oh, this may be a gift-wrapped obsidian statues here. The obsidian statues are in a position where they're on auto or attack move, and because of this, there's actually attacking this Dreadlord by itself with nothing else nearby. We are still getting in some repairs here as the Dreadlord looks to retreat back. Dreadlord does have a decent amount of experience, but well, I don't quite know. It has invisibility, perhaps it has carry on Swarm, but also has level 2 Vampiric Aura, as these Spirit Towers are trying to fire back and take down some of these units. Playing a game of whack-a-mole, however, these burrowed Crypt Fiends, well, while in Blight, regenerate more hit points and are not attackable. Meanwhile, what is going on here? The ghouls trying to go after these targets, perhaps try and take down these obsidian statues, as these units are retreating back. More repairs are still underway, heading strong. Lich showing up to the party here, and he's going to be able to get off a nice Frost Nova across multiple units, picking off some of those low hit point ghouls, and then bursting them down after, well, bursting them down and just racking up more damage. Crypt Fiends heading back off to the north here. We are getting some repairs underway on these Spirit Towers, but it looks like, well, Fish is going to be in a bit of trouble. He's down to 22 supply, up from, or down to 22 from 48, as we now see Fish purposely unsummoning this Expo. Alright, everything gonna get cleaned up and taken down here. Multiple buildings all lost. We're looking at the Haunted Gold Mine now getting taken down. Well, finally unsummoned. What was a 4-base to 2-base game is now 2 bases to 2 bases. Undead, well, Undead here down on the south side, still only sitting at 3 acolytes. Not quite sure why it's not fully saturated up to 5. If it is if there is a purple army, a purple unit getting caught in here, well, what? Blue and red make purple, so difficult to spot every single time that Paladin tries to jump on in. Alright, Halls of the Dead. Fish finally upgrading to tier 3. It is finally at Black Citadel. You can see the Paladin trying to dive on in 6,600 gold compared to how much gold? Yeah, so it's only been a little bit of 500 gold mining difference there. The Acolyte trying to, or the Paladin just purposely trying to put in pressure on this base here. Paladin having a difficult time getting and actually caught up to this Acolyte, as the Acolyte still runs around in circles. Coming back around, how much gold is here? 8270. So yeah, excuse me, BlOoDy has been on the receiving end of a bunch of harassment, as Odin or Deathnote now switching back over to siege engines and putting pressure on the buildings. All right, so we are going into double, triple workshop with siege engines, and now a very, very fortified position by Deathnote. Deathnote with these siege engines can rack up a lot of damage. Those siege engines only have fortified armor, and if you only have heroic damage, magic damage, and piercing damage, well, that is such a great, the fortified armor reduces so much of that damage that even though there is this many units nearby, it's difficult to finish off that siege engine there. Dreadlord still wandering around, perhaps trying to get up to level 5 here, creeping by itself. We're looking at 29 over 40 supply, 43 over 66, as the cannon tower perhaps going to get cleaned up here. Death Knight, oh, even the Granite Golem, the forest is coming alive and causing problems as the army is still pushing on through. Cannon tower finally going to get taken down, and you're going to see these other guard towers, even with that level 2 masonry upgrade, perhaps get taken down pretty quickly. All right, there's a quick sleep onto the Death Knight. Dreadlord trying to, sneak on through. Going to get up to level 5 pretty fast, as well as the ghouls are trying to swarm in and perhaps dive onto these Crypt Fiends. Lich doesn't have enough mana for Frost Nova yet, as the ghouls are trying to finish off those targets. Another Crypt Fiend gets taken down as the siege engines are still rolling on out. Granite Golems are actually engaging inside the space here, causing problems as low hit point ghouls are getting caught out as well. Frantic fighting once more. We look at Fish setting up another expo off to the north, even though he was the one that unsummoned it at first to try and minimize the losses. There's a Holy Light level 5 now up on the Paladin, as the Paladin looks to back away. Crazy 2v2 fight so far, as a lot of disruption, a lot of mining lost, as the Granite Golem in the back across over here still reaching back. Yes. I don't know where it is either. I'm sorry.
A player's forces are under attack.
Dreadlord now trying to retreat its way back here. It looks as though Paladin is trying to fall back here. Are we going to see a sleep? A little bit of auto attack. Auto attack could work. No, Holy Light just finishes off the Death Knight. Death Knight falls at level 4, and the Paladin with level 3 or level 2 Divine Shield, 30 seconds of invulnerability, able to stay alive and finish off that Death Knight. All right. Dreadlord sitting at 5. Paladin sitting at 5. Even if the Paladin gets Resurrection, is probably not going to be all that useful, as the undead army looks to retreat back once more. Death Knight could get resurrected pretty quickly. Is it getting resurrected? I don't see it. Perhaps the altar of darkness already taken out. All right, BlOoDy back out here does have his Death Knight. Yeah, it looks like it is a MixTape who lost his Altar of Darkness and unable to resurrect, being forced to resurrect at the tavern off on the other side, as we see, Fish once more building multiple buildings again, and going to be very much mining gold off on this north side, perhaps without being spotted. All right. Is the Granite Golem going to end up just falling at the hands of this Dreadlord here? Already down to 213 hit points, could easily get taken out. Guard towers are not within range to actually poke, but they don't seem to really care about it, as we see the Dreadlord now coming into the back here. Nerubian Tower is already done. Spirit Tower is getting upgraded, as the Acolytes are trying to, just mine in and get a bunch of work done here. All right, it is a 3v1 or 3 hero fight versus 1 here, as the Nerubian Towers are up and operational, and now we see some Spirit Towers actually starting to do a little bit of poking. Both heroes are actually asleep, and they're not getting woken up by their ghoul counterparts. Meanwhile, the Dreadlord is still amongst all of this with a decent amount of support. All right, Acolytes could get added in. Crypt Fiends are trying to fight back across on the other side. Destroyer doesn't want to dive in for some strange reason, as the Dreadlord could be in trouble, down to 400 hit points and dropping quickly. All right, it looks like it will finally get taken down to 14, 15 hit points. Death Knight of MixTape finally getting to level 5, so dual level 5, or a level 5 Death Knight and a level 4 Death Knight, ready to perhaps burst down and some enemy human units. Coming back across here, more towers getting placed down. So mass towers, mass tanks in this 2v2 matchup. And where is the Paladin going? Paladin is perhaps just going to try and do a bit more harassment. 6,500 gold compared to 2,900 gold. A 5-minute mining difference. Meanwhile, MixTape off over here still has a little bit of mining left. Haunting of the gold mine getting underway. Finally, an expo being taken. Paladin coming back out onto the battlefield here, looking to finish off some of these meat wagons as the siege engines are now rolling on in to finish off this Black Citadel. All right, a lot of fortified damage against that building right there. And there's level 6 now on the Paladin, finishing off another Acolyte again. Ghouls are now trying to run around here. Paladin now still running around, perhaps going to try and finish off another Acolyte there. Does get the kill, as the Paladin may need a Staff of Teleportation to try and retreat back out. Surprisingly, no. Is he going to use the Staff of Sanctuary? Not quite sure why he didn't use the Staff of Sanctuary right there, as we're looking at a surround and kill onto the Death Knight. Death Knight ends up falling, Paladin getting higher and higher up, and this is just an annoying way for human to play against undead, just rolling out siege engines constantly and having that solo level 6 Paladin making sure that the undead is unable to get any effective mining going. That Paladin has probably killed more Acolytes, really living to his name, just trying to take down this undead army by himself.
A player's forces are under attack.
W3 booster.
Town is under siege.
The W3 booster overlay is, yeah, if you just search W3 booster, you'll be able to find it, right? It's on a separate website. Siege engine now rolling back here. That's going to get easily finished off now that it has a little bit of negative armor. Ghouls are still trying to swarm it up. Meanwhile, undead army pushing inside the base of Deathnote. All right, level 2 onto that Crypt Lord, level 5 on the Death Knight, and they're just pushing straight on into this army here. These guard towers should get finished off pretty easily. All it needs is a little bit of focus fire, and with the help of these obsidian statues, well, they should get taken down pretty fast. However, it looks as though the Staff of Teleportation inbound Paladin is nearby, perhaps going to try to get in some big heals. Dreadlord comes in with the Carrion Swarm as the Destroyer now gets away, going into Destroyer form and getting a Death Coil to try and survive. Death Knight now down to 243 hit points. There's a Carrion Swarm to try and stay alive here. A couple more easy kills. There goes an Abomination as the Paladin and Dreadlord combination still racking up more of those kills. All right. Dreadlord gonna hang out at the Fountain of Mana. Paladin gonna hang out at the Fountain of Mana as well. Get some more precious mana, and then perhaps dive on in once again. Fountain of Mana becoming useful, but more useful for the human undead side, surprisingly, as the obsidian statues didn't park themselves there as I had originally thought. Even having a couple of acolytes there to try and repair obsidian statues could be beneficial and useful. Off to the north, we're looking at the Lich trying to finish off these acolytes. Ghouls are making their way over, and what is going on here? Summoning of Ziggurats, counter Ziggurats being summoned up right in front of your opponent's base, so that you can go ahead and start towering up your opponent as well. These ghouls are going to try and retreat away. One Spirit Tower is up and operational. There's a big Frost Nova. There's a Carrion Swarm ripping on through a bunch of low hit point Crypt Fiends, as the Obsidian statues need to get in a lot more heals as well. All right, Dreadlord can turn around, perhaps get another Carrion Swarm, finish off some of these units here. Are we going to see? No, there goes a Death Coil trying to keep those units alive. There goes that Carrion Swarm again, taking down Obsidian statue and then taking down another Crypt Fiend. One Spirit Tower, or one Nerubian Tower, or what? No, one Spirit Tower actually taking down that last building, as the undead army still trying to take down this North Expo. Meanwhile, down to the south here, Paladin has still been constantly harassing. Well, we're looking at BlOoDy's only has 2 out of 5 saturation, 5280 gold mine compared to 460. You can see, well, full saturation, what it looks like, and how heavily BlOoDy has been harassed throughout this match. Meanwhile, MixTape off over here has 2 minutes of mining left, trying to set up this expo, as the Paladin is maybe able to catch the Lich here. Boots of Speed on the Paladin, gonna give in a couple of easy hits. One more, oh my gosh, does not go after it. The Lich ends up surviving and uses a potion of invisibility to avoid the last hit. Paladin is still, while trying to regain some hit points and some precious mana. Level 3 Divine Shield is 45 seconds of invulnerability. 45 seconds of invulnerability right there. Death Knight now being forced to try and retreat back here as, well, what is going to really happen? The ghouls are showing up. Dreadlord is right there. And here we see the Paladin trying to go after the Death Knight still. All right, a little bit of damage here. Carrion Swarm could come across. There's the Death Coil. Finishes off the Paladin at level 6. The Dreadlord was invisible, just spotted all of that. Paladin falls at level 6, giving a key level up, another level 5 Death Knight to the undead army. Destroyers looking to finish things off here. That is, however, a lot of guard towers to try and take down without meat wagons. That is difficult. Cryptlord does have that spiked carapace armor, getting an additional 3 armor. And thereby protecting itself a little bit more as the Dreadlord, well, launches another Carrion Swarm and tries to finish off some more of these units. All right, a little bit more mana. The Dreadlord is going to come back across here. We're looking at the Death Knight. Both sides are going to be fighting their way through. The Dreadlord going to go ahead and throw a Carrion Swarm as well, but the Crypt Lord not having to worry about the Paladin, as the Paladin was low on mana from the resurrection at the tavern. Ghouls showing up to the party. Are we going to see a Carrion Swarm rip through? Yes, we are. There's a Divine Shield. All of those ghouls of well, BlOoDy now needing to reconsider their decisions. There's another Holy Light right there. There goes a Frost. There's a Carrion Swarm. There's level 6 Dreadlord. We could say an Infernal come down. There's the Infernal. There's the stun onto the Lich. Lich uses a potion of invulnerability. Paladin is going to be close by, and that Lich is going to also fall. Paladin has plenty of mana. Why isn't it keeping track, keeping tabs, trying to lose line of sight, trying to lose line of sight right there? Paladin doesn't want to start it. Are we going to see the Death Coil in time? No, we are not. Paladin gets the Holy Light on it, and now he's in trying to run danger as we see the Lich. Oh! Well, nope. Lich does not get the final attack off. Paladin able to escape away at 50 hit points. All right, so many clutch moves with so many heroes trying to focus each other down. Infernal now knocking on the door of this expo here. Meanwhile, one burrowed Crypt Fiend does not want to pop up as there's an army of, well, so many towers just protecting this northern location. Deathnote also still mining pretty freely at this expo here, as we are looking at 2 mining bases compared to 2, as BlOoDy still needs to figure out where, if he wants to set on expo, and where. All right, human undead team may be able to outlast their opponents as we are finally getting into mining stage of the game. 26 supply, 18 supply, going up against 18 supply and 56. MixTape, the one with the largest army here, and he's running straight into that Paladin. Paladin does have a 45-second Divine Shield, so that is the problem. Give him a potion of invulnerability on top of that, and suddenly he's just, a one-man wrecking crew. Death Knight does have a Scroll of Town Portal. He's going to go ahead and Death Pack one of his own Crypt Fiends to try and last long enough and try to outlast a 45-second Divine Shield. 45 seconds Divine Shield. Oh, Carrion Swarm comes in from the side, and Fish snipes the kill, and we may see another death here. There goes a Frost Nova. Dreadlord may be forced to use a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. There's another Carrion Swarm. There's a Sleep, and there goes the Obsidian statue there. Dreadlord is still somehow staying alive. Paladin trying to go after this Lich. There's the Infernal. The Infernal could have walked on over, could have done something. For some reason it hasn't, as the Paladin is still trying to finish off some of those Crypt Fiends. We could be looking at a Carrion Swarm just, well, a Carrion Swarm would have been perfect right there, getting in a bit more kills again. Level 3 Carrion Swarm, level 3 Holy Light has been just sniping down units left and right. Meanwhile, the Infernal going to end up getting shut down again as we see constant sleeps. However, it looks as though the Destroyers are just constantly devouring magic there. There goes an Impale. Paladin could be in trouble. Death Knight shows up. Are we going to see a Divine Shield? It looks like Divine Shield is still on cooldown. The Paladin now needs to retreat back away. Has enough mana as they're going to be sitting at the Fountain of Health. I still think that the Paladin needs one Potion of Invulnerability. That Potion of Invulnerability will help the cooldown of the help get to the cooldown of that next Divine Shield. A lot of mining still going underway. Odin sitting on 2,100 gold And, well, I guess when all you're doing is calling down Infernals, doing Carrion Swarms and Holy Light, you can stock up on good, powerful, consumable items on your hero or build up a large bank. All right, more siege engines getting trained up back at home. This mining base only has 3.5 minutes left here. 33 supply and 47. MixTape finally staying out of high upkeep. But remember, these center gold mines have an obscene amount of gold, 25,000 gold. So, or at the very start. So that means that it takes quite some time before they end up running out. All right, Lich. Carrion Swarm, and there's a Holy Light finishing off the Lich as well. Dreadlord gonna try and get away. Paladin is still here. 300 hit point heals. The Dreadlord could be in trouble, down to 278 hit points. He's trying to duck, dive, and weave his way through. And is he gonna teleport away? Yes, he does at 145. Paladin has his sights set on the Death Knight. The Death Knight of MixTape didn't death coil his partner there, as the Paladin now sits at level 9. All right, level 9 Paladin, just being the holy warrior he is, taking on the undead with a vengeance. Doesn't care. He has the divine shield. He is on a righteous mission and now needs to run away, saying we, knowing all the way back home, knowing that he's done his job. All right, divine shield cooldown. Waiting. Paladin gonna run over here. Well, it needs to get back. We should be looking at the priest also parking himself next to that fountain of mana as well. That way he also benefits from that additional mana regeneration. All right, Paladin. Look at that mana getting back up very, very quickly. Another necropolis being placed down. Yeah, it doesn't look like this priest realizes that he needs that fountain of mana, and just, well, gonna finally head off over there. All right, divine shield. Paladin setting his sights on the Death Knight. Gonna try to go after the Death Knight with a vengeance again, trying to chase after. Does have boots of speed, but the Death Knight with unholy aura able to move around pretty quickly, as well as the Infernal getting in a couple of big bashes too. All right, Paladin constantly getting out of range. Dreadlord or Lich shows up to the party. Paladin, well, wasting a lot of his divine shield time going after the Death Knight. Death Knight now down to 172 hit points. Gonna go ahead and use a Death Pack on a Crypt Fiend to stay alive again, as well the Infernal gonna get taken down here. Gonna continue to try to battle it up. Paladin could be in trouble, down to 400 hit points. He gets impaled. Paladin's gonna go down here, and that is gonna give level 6 now to the Death Knight. Paladin wasted too much time on his divine shield chasing. He perhaps triggered it a bit too early, not when he was in actual danger. And since the Death Knight was able to, well, outrun the Paladin, well, wasted 45 seconds of invulnerability only to get impaled when the time came when he tried to teleport back out. Death Pack is greater than Raise Dead. Yes, in this matchup here, Death Pack, I don't know, man. If you're part of the undead army and you have a lot of hit points, every single unit looks like a healing pot almost. All right. Crypt Fiend walks out, says ready to join the battle, only to see the Death Knight says your life will be honored. All right, coming back across here, we're looking at the, well, Paladin ready to come across here. Was that the Paladin? Paladin also has did the Paladin have anti-magic shell? I believe he did. So we're now adding anti-magic shell into the game to try and absorb some of that holy light burst damage. Siege engines rolling on through. They're just gonna well, take large amounts of damage as they're trying to get into position. Meanwhile, you see Infernal summoned across from behind. Acolytes no longer able to easily mine, as the Paladin shows up to the party and says, you know what, let's finish off all of these Acolytes here. All right, Infernal dealing a little bit of damage. Paladin has anti-magic shell and divine shield. However, that anti-magic shell just protects you from the damage. You can still get stunned, as we're looking at the Haunted Goldmine taking quite a bit of damage. Siege engines rolling on up here. Destroyers trying to provide cover. Is the Paladin, yeah, now being forced to teleport out of this position, able to head back home. All right, some interesting plays throughout this matchup. Some close calls, some great teamwork, some sudden appearances out of nowhere, making for a non-standard game. Dreadlord is sitting at level 6, doesn't want to break invisibility here. What would be interesting is if the Destroyer just randomly devoured magic nearby and then the Dreadlord suddenly was revealed. One of those crazy situations that sometimes does happen. Death Knight, well, looking at a army of guard towers here. The lumber mill is also in position, just acting as a 1100 hit point wall with fortified armor. Difficult for the undead to knock down, especially without any meat wagons. Those meat wagons, however, just do not survive or go up against a paladin with divine shield. Everything's good. All right. Peasants massively trying to repair, unable to do so. All get frostbite while working as the Lich throws down a Frost Nova. Multiple guard towers here still launching away. Dreadlord shows up. There's a carry-on swarm. And suddenly, all of those obsidian statues are now in the red. All right, are we going to see another tactical carry-on swarm? No, just finishing off the meat wagon as the guard tower is still able to do their work. There goes another 2 as the paladin is now nearby and says, you know what? Are we going to do some weird things? Perhaps cast invisibility? Yes. So anti-magic shell and invisibility on the Dreadlord. Sorceress gets taken down. And now we are looking at the Lich perhaps just trying to sneak on by. All right. Shades are out on the battlefield. Ghouls are still mining up a bit of lumber. 800 gold in the bank. Meanwhile, we have 500 gold in the bank. 23 supply, 23, 30, 1 against 41 and 39. So army sizes are actually relatively close as the Death Knight, the undead army, still working very close together, but still has to worry about that Dreadlord's carry-on swarm and the Paladin's Holy Light. All right, gonna go ahead and summon down an Infernal right there. There goes a little bit more damage, just trying to rip on through an Infernal. The summon not actually dealing that much damage, as both sides are just, well, trying to finish off each other's heroes. Another anti-magic shell there. More lumber still being harvested off to the north here. Looking to finish off of this particular key building as the Paladin now shows up and has his eyes set on a Death Knight. Trying to go after this unit here. There's that divine shield making that Paladin, well, invulnerable. Now trying to finish off more of these units, taking down the Acolytes one at a time. Perhaps trying to get the Paladin to level 6, knowing that he can't easily finish off the Lich or that Death Knight since, well, they have so many hit points and is also protected by that anti-magic shell. If the Lich gets up to level 6, that is going to be a very big deal. Death and Decay will pretty much destroy all of those towers as the Death Knight, well, anti-magic shell and death coils will protect that Lich long enough. All right, not finishing off this, well, Paladin trying to go after this Death Knight here. Death Knight down to 178 hit points. Shade now nearby, and the Holy Light, the shade of fish coming over to give light or give sight there to the Death Knight, and that is enough. A beautiful teamwork, trying to use Nightfall and line of sight to stop the Paladin from being able to get the Holy Light across. The Shade moves over to give to spot, and that is the game there. Solo Paladin and solo Dreadlord taking on the undead army. Here are the final scores. All right, total scores here. Well, yep. Deathnote Frogs winning in that category there, mainly winning by resource. You can see the resource difference there. Also the heroes, the amount of experience gained, but one level 9 Paladin with that 45 seconds of Divine Shield, just being able to run around, kill heroes, acolytes, stop mining, rinse and repeat. Let me know what you guys would have done in a 2v2 matchup like this. How would you have responded? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.